Hello, lovely people, and welcome back to the show. I am so excited to share this episode with you today because it's juicy, it's inspiring, and most importantly, it's real. So, I'm going to be sharing with you how I had my biggest cash month while traveling for half of it. But before we get into the episode, I want to give you a little bit of an update because I love when I do these episodes, the day before or whatever the episode goes live, I get to share an update because sometimes I batch record my content so much that I can't give an update like of the same stage of, week for like 4 episodes in a row. You know what I mean? So I'm actually kind of enjoying doing these episodes the day before they go live because I just get to be more chill and I get to like share with you what's going on, and it just means what I'm sharing in that moment is the most up-to-date information, if that makes sense. So last week was the same situation. I recorded the episode right before I was going to be publishing it, and so much so that what I shared with you guys last week was how I had made over 60K in cash for the month. The cool thing is, if you go back and listen to that episode, as I said in the episode, like I'm sharing, this result for this month, but we still have the rest of this day, like the last day of the month. And what's funny is after I recorded that episode, I was in a rush and I went off to the Gold Coast and spent the whole week there with some of my friends, as I said in the episode. But I went on to make about $7,500 after that. So by the end of the day / the end of the month, we actually wrapped up the month at $67,500, over that actually, in cash collected, which is so awesome and a really, really high profit margin. So I actually made so much more after the episode finished, which is so funny. And so in this episode, I'm going to be unpacking it deeper on how I really did that whilst actually traveling for half of it, because that's something I briefly mentioned in the episode as well. So last week's episode was like very practical strategies that I did. And this is going to be more unpacking like how I literally lived my best life while doing so, and some of the things that were essential to making that happen as well. So I'm really, really excited for that. But little personal life update, I'm going really well. I was joking with my friends just before on FaceTime. I feel like all I do is travel at this point. So much so that I almost think I travel a little bit too much. Like I actually love my routine and my home and my stability in my life so much that I don't like leaving that. And I think that that's a good thing because it means I've created a life that I truly love and a routine that I love and don't want to run away from. And so I know it sounds like a first world problem, but I'm like, oh my God, I go away so much because there always seems to be this genuine reason. But I actually miss my routine so much when I do that. So last week I was in the Gold Coast for the whole week and I had so much fun with my friends. Do not get me wrong. I had the best time and yeah, so much fun. But I also just was so excited to come home by the end of it because I'm like, I miss my partner and I miss my home and I miss my Pilates classes and my routine and what I'm eating and everything like that. And so, yeah, it's like a bittersweet thing of like, I absolutely love how much I travel and I also love being at home. It's quite a conflicting thing. So I was away all last week and I had the best time, but I was also equally so happy to come back home and just spend quality time with my man and get back into the swing of things. So I'm feeling really good because I'm back in routine and have been now for a few days. But it was so cool because last week I got to experience three different hotels, one really, really bougie one and then two really nice ones as well. And I just got to, support my friends with their work. I went there, originally because one of my friends was speaking on stage, which was so cool to support her with and witness. But I also got to catch up with, a long-term client of mine, Tara, who's just killing it in business, and just to be able to celebrate that and spend time together was so special. And then catch up with some other friends as well was really nice, and just going out to bougie restaurants, and we went exploring in nature, like to the Tambourine Mountains on the Gold Coast, in the hinterland, and it was just so beautiful because I'm very much a greenery, nature-based girly. Like I love that, and it makes me question sometimes, why am I living in Brisbane City when I love the nature aspects so much more? But I also love Brisbane. Like this is the best place I've ever lived. Like I love Brisbane so much, but then I don't live the corporate life. In fact, I've never had a corporate job, and so it's interesting that we live here when Geordie and I both don't have anything to do with the city, if that makes sense. So we probably see ourselves living more, you know, in somewhere like the sunny coast in the near future. As sad and bittersweet as that is, you know, because again, I love everything about my life, but I do think that that lifestyle makes more sense for us. Like, we love the beach and we love, you know, nature and greenery and space and peace and quiet. Whereas like sometimes I wake up at 6 a.m. to like construction sounds because there's a big building being built near us. And I'm just like, that's not it for me. So yeah, that's really my life update. It's only been a week since the last episode, but feeling really good. And then this week I've got a really spacious week. Again, very, very blessed. And at the end of this week, I am going to the sunny coast, ironically. I'm staying in a little tiny cabin with Geordie, and we're going to have so much fun. We've got a wedding. That's why we're going there. So we thought, let's make a little trip out of it. But yeah, like, oh my God, leaving again. Like, and then shortly after that, I'm literally going to Adelaide for Easter and for work, and it's like, oh my God, I just travel so much. It's like Qantas should reward me more at this point for how often I book flights and travel. But anyways, that's okay. I no longer feel stressed about going back to Adelaide anymore because I have a gym membership there, whereas like Adelaide is where I'm from, it's where my family is, and so I naturally go there a lot. And I found every time I would go there, and sometimes for long periods of time, like 2 or 3 weeks, I would just lose routine. But now I'm no longer afraid of that because I have a gym membership. So actually nothing really has to change other than the fact that I'll be living out of a suitcase, but that's okay. I can deal with that. I'm a minimalist. Anyways, let's dive in. That's about it for my life update. Today, I'm going to pull back the curtain on how I had my biggest cash month in business, so nearly $70,000, and then well over $100,000 of additional money that is going to now come in over the next 12 months because a lot of people join on payment plans, as that's how I've set up my business. And during this time of doing this, like, I was on several flights, I was offline, I did no calls for some of the weeks, you know, sleeping, living life, you know, and the business still ran under all of those circumstances as per normal, and sales still came in and the results were still happening. So let's get into the how, but I really want to speak into this lifestyle aspect of it because you've probably heard people say, like, build a business that supports your life, not the other way around. But the thing is I've actually done that. Not many people can say that they've actually done it, and I truly have. Like, this has been my day today. Are you ready? I woke up to the sound of construction. Not so fun. Let's disregard that part. But I woke up about 6:30, something like that. And I made breakfast and had my 40 grams of protein and then sat in the sun and ate it because that's the era that I'm in. I'm all about like health and circadian rhythms, whatever, all that sort of stuff. So did all the right things there and just really chilled. Then I did checked in with all of my clients. Then I rode to the gym and I did my Pilates class, which was so much fun. And then I went and got lunch at my new favorite cafe next to the gym. And then I worked for a couple of hours at the gym and had my team meeting with my team, which was so much fun. We actually had a really big call today because there's lots of good things and big things happening. And then I went in the sauna and the cold plunge, and I did that a couple of times. And then I laid in the sun after, and then in between all of that, after my lunch, by the way, I went for an hour walk, forgot about that. And then, anyways, after the sauna and the cold plunge and tanning, I then rode home, FaceTime my best friends, and now it's 6:30 p.m. and I'm recording this. That's been my day. So my only call has been a team meeting, which I loved, and we only do once a week. And that was it. And then the rest has been doing, like, honestly, wellness stuff and a bit of creativity work, to be honest, and supporting my clients, which is so fun. So I've truly created a business that supports my lifestyle, right? My business is very much merged so gracefully, like, within all of that. And if I had built my business the other way around, it would require me to be glued to my laptop 8+ hours per day, like a normal job, or to always be on sales calls. And this lifestyle that I truly love and value, because freedom and fulfillment and energy and health and connection and spaciousness, that's so important to me, that wouldn't be possible. And therefore I would have a business that actually conflicts with my biggest values. And I know that sounds so obvious and crazy, but that's so many people's reality. Whereas that's not mine. I refuse for that to be my life. Like, which is why I literally feel so grateful. And I did a reel whilst laying by the pool on this today. I'm like, I don't think there goes a day where I'm not incredibly grateful for the life I've created. Like, I will not take it for granted ever. It's wild to me that 5 years ago, I was working 5 casual jobs, hustling for $20 an hour, and now I make money in my sleep. Like, I'm never going to take that for granted no matter what. And sure, it's been normalized a lot more now. Like, it's not as big of a deal as, like, you know, the first sale or the first 10 sales, but I still have like all of these butterflies and this really special feeling and a nice smile on my face every time a sale comes in. And it's normalized, but it's still so special, and I won't take it for granted. So I really believe that fulfillment and energy and presence in your life is essential for sustainable success in business. So many people, it's like, oh, when I'm successful, then I'll work on creating that. But actually for me, it's entirely the other way around. Like, the reason I have the results and have made millions in my business is because I prioritize fulfillment and energy and presence. And I've made sure that the decisions I make in my business match that and align with that. Otherwise, these results that I have wouldn't be possible. Because if you're building something that burns you out, where you have to pause everything just to go on holiday, or God forbid, life throws you a curveball, which, let's be honest, happens to all of us, then what you've built isn't sustainable. It's actually fragile. And I can imagine if that's you right now, like, first of all, it can be changed, don't worry. And second of all, if you're really early stages in business, like, of course, you're not going to have as much freedom as someone that's maybe more established, that's made decisions from this lens. Like, it takes a little bit of hustle and grind and effort to get things going, don't get me wrong. But then once, you know, you just still want to be making sure you're making decisions that lead down to this one result that you want, right? But the thing is that where I see so many people go wrong is, like, because they haven't set their business up like this, because they've learned from like some masculine male coach that doesn't have kids, hustles 24 hours a day, like, you know, and has different values potentially. And that's just an example. It doesn't need to be gender specific, right? But someone that just doesn't have the same values, let's say, or doesn't have the same life goals or aspirations or whatever, and you're modeling that strategy, then you're going to get that result and that lifestyle. But a lot of people believe that that's the only way, or, you know, they don't believe that it's possible to have both. And that used to be a huge belief of mine. I was like, I didn't believe I could have my health, my relationships, and wealth all at once. I thought like one had to cost the other, and so it did at times, but it no longer does that because I don't believe that anymore. So your beliefs will create your reality. But my point is that if you build your business that way, in that unsustainable way, or that hustle and grind way, like even when you're established, then what happens is that you're actually going to be afraid to go on holidays, because you're going to have in your mind, like, when I go on a holiday, I lose money. If I have a kid, I'm going to lose money, and all of these things. And I don't know about you, but I don't want that belief. I don't want to feel like I can't, you know, say yes to something when I get the invitation, or when my partner and I want to go somewhere. I don't want to have to, like, you know, that be such a big deal. I just want to be able to do it, right? And so you want to make sure you're building a business that supports the lifestyle that you want to create, okay? So let me show you the strategy behind the sales. Now, I'm all about simplicity. If you know me well enough, you know that I talk about sustainability, simplicity, and scalability in everything, right? And so I'm all for a simple marketing strategy. Simplicity is queen. But here's the key. Your simple strategy still needs to have layers to it, right? If it was that simple that you just had to post a day and then walk away and you had nothing else in place, you wouldn't have a business today. It obviously has more layers to that. Think of it like having a thriving ecosystem. So you need attraction strategies that bring in leads. You need nurture strategies to build trust with those leads you've just brought in. And you need conversion strategies that allow people to buy on or off a call. And I think it's important to have a variety of ways to attract, a variety of ways to nurture, and a variety of ways to convert. Because if you were to only rely on one, and that platform or that strategy or that thing was to no longer work, you're kind of screwed. Whereas if you have a variety of ways, then no matter where you are, no matter what is happening, you have options. I was actually having a conversation with like a really, really beautiful potential client today. She purchased, a $49 workshop of mine, and we're having a beautiful chat in the voice messages. And she was telling me how, her business was doing so well until a month ago. And I said, that's a little bit strange. That doesn't usually happen. What did you do differently? And she said, well, I stopped doing podcast collaborations and I realized that's where I make all of my money. And I'm like, okay, well, great thing to know how you can make a lot of money and that you've got a strategy that really works, but not so great when it's the only thing that works and you stop doing that, then so does your business. And so I told her, like, keep doing the podcast collaborations, but there's going to be seasons and times where you can't as easily do that. AKA, for example, when you want to go traveling like I have, right? And so that's why it's important to, yes, do strategies that work like that, even if you can't do them all the time, but also have other things in place that also work, right? She realized that all this effort she puts into her content doesn't actually really convert, and that's really dangerous because she's putting in effort to something that's not paying off. And that became very apparent when she stopped doing the one thing that was working. So you do need to have a variety of different things. And thankfully she said that she's gotten so much value from my $49 workshop, which, by the way, if you want that, just DM me the word on Instagram, intensive, and I'll send you the link to it. We have the replay. It's $49 and it's honestly worth thousands and thousands, and that's what she said. And she's had so many realizations on where she's been going wrong just from doing that workshop. So you need to have a variety of ways. So while I can and do sell on sales calls, I'm by no means against them. I also like to make sales while I sleep. Don't we all? I'm sure you do as well. While I'm offline, while I'm on the beach, somewhere sipping a cocktail, but it would be a non-alcoholic one because I no longer drink alcohol, and with zero internet. I want to be able to make sales under those circumstances, which, by the way, I don't think I've ever said that out loud. I don't drink alcohol anymore. I haven't drunk alcohol since September 2024, which is wild, and I feel so good about it. Best decision ever. So yeah, sipping a mocktail, should I say. I want to be able to make sales in all of those circumstances. Like, it was so cool when I was in Japan. I'm not into designer stuff, my friends are, but we were shopping in these designer stores in Tokyo, and the fact that I made thousands of dollars whilst just walking around there was this beautiful energetic upgrade of like, wow, like I'm a magnet for money. It was so cool. Okay, so having the option on under certain circumstances to still be making money is really important, because what happens if one day your strategy stops working? What if you lose access to your Instagram account and that was the only way you were making money? What if you get hacked on something? What if the algorithm changes and everything you spent all of this time and energy and money and effort doing no longer actually works, right? What if you want to take a spontaneous 2-week trip away with your partner? What if you want to go on maternity leave? What if you want to have more children? You shouldn't have to lose your business or it costs these things in order to have that. You get to have both. And it's so important you truly believe that. So if your business relies on you being present 24/7, then one break can break your income. And that's a really scary place to be, okay? So I'm going to share with you the 4 things that I had in place that really supported that to not happen, and instead to have my biggest cash month whilst I was on an overseas trip for half of it, okay? And I also flew interstate in that month, and I also just had so much spaciousness, okay? So let's talk about those practicalities. What exactly allowed me to bring in nearly $70,000 of cash that month while being away for half of it? Number 1 was support system. Obviously, I've had a coach every single day I've been in business, and I just wouldn't be who I am or where I am today without it. Like, so many people look at the cost of investing, but honey, look at the cost of not investing. It's a serious time waster and therefore money waster. Whereas I had several times over that month where I just, was unsure about something, or our numbers weren't really great on a certain area, and I would just reach out to my coach, help me find the bottleneck, move forwards. And it was the difference between making tens of thousands and not, right? So having a coach is like a non-negotiable, just like every other business out there on the planet that needs to invest in order for it to grow, whether that's on ads, whether that's on rent, whether that's on staff. Every business costs money to run, right? And if you don't do that, you're not going to have a business. So having my coach was essential. Also my team absolutely worked even when I wasn't, and I'm so grateful for that. Having an ads manager that just spends his time making sure the ads are working and thriving is so important. Having an appointment setter of someone that helps me send the offer docs, which I'll get into in a second, and DMing initiating conversations or following up or whatever, those like more generic things, and then I do the in-betweens, was so important. Having a VA that posted all of my content that I was super organized to create before going away. I always batch a month's worth of content in advance. Like I don't have to write a single piece of copy now for a month and a half because I just did it over the weekend, because it's really easy when you know what you're doing. And I just couldn't do it without my VA, my ads manager, and my appointment setter. Like they're just so important to me, and my coach, and then my partner, of course, and my friends, like, my network, my personal network, where I can just like not be a businesswoman and just be a baby if I want to, or just chill, or just be a normal human, because obviously in business, I'm supporting my clients, I'm supporting my team, with my coach. I'm not coming to that space with emotion, I'm coming with logic and data, right? And so it's nice to just like be the opposite with my partner, or just, chill out with my friends. And whilst I pride myself on being the same person online and offline, you still absolutely see a different version of me if you're in my personal network. Like I'm more goofy and funny and silly and got a lot of humor and just really, really laid back, because like that's absolutely part of my personality, and I'm not afraid of showing that online. Like my clients would see that side. It's not as useful of a side online. Like that's not useful for me to be like that on a podcast episode when I'm trying to help you, kind of thing. So it's nice to kind of have that personal life support and then also have that business support. It's just essential, right? So I had people in place who could keep things moving when I wasn't online, whether that was checking in with leads, managing, logistics, or holding space for me emotionally, whatever. When I needed it, it was just so good. So if you're doing everything yourself, it's nearly impossible to scale. You're just surviving, right? And I also just want to recognize that if you're in an earlier stage of business, of course that's your situation. But that's why out of all of that support, the thing that you need the most is a coach, because that can get you out of that situation where you're actually in a position to hire support. So if that's not you and you're like, well, easy for you to say blah, blah, blah. Well, I started there too, and I did everything myself, and I worked really hard to turn that around. And now that's never been my situation again, because I was willing to invest even when it didn't make sense and I didn't have evidence of it. So there's really no excuse. So that's the first thing, is having a support system. The second thing was an offer doc, something I briefly mentioned before. So I did not want to be on any calls whatsoever. I didn't want to be on coaching calls, client calls, sales calls, nothing while I was in Japan for the 10 days. Like I did my client calls like the day before Japan and then the day after Japan. I just didn't want to do it in Japan because time zones and internet, and I just wanted to be present. And my clients were so happy for me. They didn't lose or miss out on any calls. It literally just happened a day earlier and a day later, like around that time period, and it was completely fine. And I used to be so petrified of that stuff that I would never do stuff like that, and it meant like I was getting up crazy early or staying up crazy late when I was overseas in Europe last year. And I'm like, oh my God, this is not helpful for anyone. Like I don't need to do that. Like people will survive, I still supported clients every single day, like in the Facebook group and in Slack. Like, in fact, even more so, I went out of my way to make sure that they didn't feel 1 inch of me being unavailable. Like, I went live every day and I gave tips, and we were running a 30-day challenge. Like, they actually benefited from me being away. So just wanted to make that clear. But anyways, that's a tangent. So I still wanted to make sales though without being on these calls. So I had an offer doc, and funnily enough, it's a workshop I'm running for my clients tomorrow morning, which I'm going to be preparing the final touches for after this. And I'm so excited to just sit with a cup of tea and do that, because it's my jam. And it's basically teaching how you can sell with a Google document. So no fancy sales page, no sales calls, and you can make thousands of dollars even while you're away. So this one document clearly outlined my offer, the transformation, the price, and how to join. And it just meant that someone could just join. And it was really, really, really cool. So this allowed people to make decisions quickly without needing a call. So yeah, it's like having a silent salesperson who never sleeps. It's amazing. The third thing that really supported me was running ads. So I wouldn't recommend this to someone just starting out, but with where I'm at, it's super, super helpful to have those leads on autopilot. So even while I was offline, my content wasn't, ads were still running. Funnily enough, we had the lowest ad spend we've ever had in the month of March. where I had my biggest cash month. So you don't need to spend tens of thousands of dollars to make tens of thousands of dollars. Like we spent $2,500 and we made $70,000 almost. Do you know what I mean? So it doesn't have to be a lot. And that's why I have someone supporting me with that, because I would not know how to do that. And it's been really, really awesome. So it wasn't about having a huge ad spend or even a complicated funnel. It was just about consistency and knowing my numbers and making sure the message in those ads actually converted. And so we had to make a few tweaks, and it's worth it. So if you're only marketing when you're in the mood or when you have time, like your business will just feel like this like revenue roller coaster. But automating lead generation, in addition to my organic marketing, which I had pre-prepared all the content as I do every month, regardless of whether I'm traveling or not, the two combined was, a game changer. The fourth thing is long form content. So my podcast, I record a video version of the podcast. So it goes to Apple Podcasts, it goes to, Spotify. We then put the video on YouTube. So that's 3 places for the effort of 1. It also gets turned into like several different reels, which make me sales. And that's what resulted in a sale today actually, is a reel that came from a podcast episode that my VA did. I had no involvement of it. And running masterclasses, whether that be paid or evergreen or live, is so important. And that's how, I made a lot of money. So this content really, really supports me because, it takes people sometimes hours of consuming content before they buy. So having an option for them to do that through long form content, opposed to just watching 5 billion reels of yours, it's going to be really, really important. It's searchable, it's shareable, it builds connection at a deeper level. And, people are just warmer and more ready to buy off things like an offer doc when they've been nurtured so deeply. Okay. So here's really what I want to leave you with today, right? You get to build a business that works with your life, okay? So none of that's about I'm not going to care about my business. I don't care about it. I just want to live my best life and have no involvement in it. No, I care so much about my clients. I pour my heart and soul into them. And I can live my best life at the same time. So it's not even the business, it's for me to live my best life. It's no, I love my business, and me being involved in that is me living my best life as well. It's not I hate my business and then I love but I just do it because I want to live my life. It's no, the reason my business is successful is because I've designed it in a way that I love it. So pouring time into it, and time and effort and energy is required for it to grow. It fulfills me. So I never feel like I'm working. Even if I work a lot in certain seasons or certain weeks or certain days, it's just it's literally not a problem. Some people would make it a problem recording a podcast episode at 6:30 at night on a Monday. I don't even make it a problem. I actually enjoy it. What else would I want to be doing right now? I don't have Netflix, And so it's just not a problem because I love it. Whereas people that aren't passionate about who they help in their niche, that's when it's a problem. Do you see what I mean? So my business and my life are merged together, and I love both, and that's why both thrive so much. Whereas if I didn't love my life, my business probably wouldn't thrive. And if I didn't love my business, my life probably wouldn't thrive. Do you see what I mean? They work together. The other thing I want to leave you with is that you get to make big money whilst being offline or not hustling. All right. It's about working smarter, not harder. And you get to choose a model that feels expansive, supportive, and scalable, not just now, but in the long run as well. And the effort you put in now, the intentionality, the depth, the clarity, the investments you're willing to make is going to have this ripple effect payoff, but you just have to be willing to move. And so many people look at the cost of not moving, but I really want you to, they look at the cost of moving, but I really want you to look at the cost of not moving, because that is huge, right? So if you're currently hustling for every sale, or you feel like if you stepped away, the income would stop, I invite you to take a quick deep breath right now and ask, what systems or strategy and support do I need to implement that would allow sales to happen even when I'm not around? Because that's the shift that takes you from stuck to scalable, from burnt out to abundant. Okay, if you would like my help with that, where I literally hand you the exact strategy on a silver platter for you to implement step by step into your business and have my support every single step of the way in that process, just DM me the word scale and I will have a chat to you about, your business, your goals, where you're at, your bottleneck. And if I can help you and you want my help, we can chat about that as well. All right. Thanks so much for tuning in, everyone. I hope you loved this episode as much as I enjoyed recording it. I would love for you to share this with anyone that you think might get value out of it. And otherwise, I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.